What's up, guys? Welcome to the Kingdom Men Transformation podcast. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, the Acquisition CEO. If you have a question about buying or selling a business, hit him up in the link below. And I've got a really good, cool friend of mine on today and a gym bro, Jacob Davis. He owns the nutrition store. A lot of cool stuff we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about man stuff. We're going to talk about gym stuff. We're going to talk about gym bro stuff. We're going to talk about supplements. We're going to talk about being newly married and having businesses and locations and marketing and content. So, Jacob, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Oh, man. Well, I do a lot of things. You know, you and I had lunch last month. Actually, we went through a little bit of this. I wear a lot of hats. But in summary, I guess what I do, I own and operate the Nutrition Store LLC, and we're a vitamin supplement retailer based in upstate South Carolina with the simple goal, I guess, kind of, boiling it down. My main goal is to change the narrative of the way the supplement industry is viewed. We strive to provide honest recommendations, factual-based recommendations to our customers, and not simply steer them down a path that's going to make us an immediate profit gain from a sale. We try to steer them down a path of trust in us long term and earning that loyalty over time by telling them the truth. So many people come into a store like what I have, and they have the false understanding that they need to buy this test booster, this creatine, this type of pre-workout, this type of pill, and half the time they're wasting money, right? So our goal is, how can we tell you the truth? Make sure you know that we are trustworthy, and we're going to teach you the right stuff along the way. And that's what we do. So we have 2 locations. In one main one, I guess we call it HQ, Spartanburg, 1398 Bowling Springs Road, and then Greenville, Haywood Road, so 477. But yeah, it's been a fun 6 years so far.
Well, that's a whole thing too, is extreme ownership. A lot of people want to blame everybody else for everything in their lives. And it's easy to do, and it is common in culture. Instead of looking yourself in the mirror and going, you know what, this is my life. I'm going to die. I might as well live this thing, whether that's I'm going to go, build businesses or be in great shape. Like for me personally, I have a pretty clear vision of what I want life to look like mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and financially. Yeah. And that takes a lot of reflection, and it requires a lot of right? Even like working on being in good shape. And do I do it perfect? No. Am I a bodybuilder? No. Do I like to be in good shape? Do I have goals about what I want to look like physically and feel like? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do I have to say no to a lot of things to stay in that lane? Yes, I do have to say no to a lot of things to stay in that lane. And so I think that there's power in that word no, but also power in the clarity of having a vision for yourself, whether that's, physically or in your business. And I would challenge people listening to this. I've found, when you sit down with people, even talking about like supplements in the gym and those kind of things, a lot of times people don't have that vision. They don't have clarity around that.
It's very true.
What do you want to look like? Healthy?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's different for everybody.
And I've run into that myself with business, man. Like hitting that point where it's hard and I'm just doing the daily things that I've always done.
Yeah.
It's like that strips away that long-term vision, because it's like, dude, like I've worked so hard to get here. Why am I stuck here?
Sure.
Well, let's veer off the path, and then next thing I know, my vision for what TNS is going to become is like totally different.
Sure.
And not congruent with what I originally said.
And that happens. That's the power of reflection. But you wouldn't be able to find that point unless you took the action necessary to get it as far as you have. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like if you were still sitting at home planning, you wouldn't even be at the destination you've arrived at, where you're having this reflection. And what happens is I heard a story about it one time. A guy spends most of his life cutting down trees. Like he's out there, he's got this tract of land, he's just deforesting the whole thing. He's working away, gets all the trees cut down, gets to the end of the journey. Somebody says, hey man, that wasn't your property.
Right.
And you're like,
yeah. What?
And so sometimes, or a lot of times in business and life and a lot of things, marriage and even as a father, and physically, you got to sit up before that happens and be like, am I chopping down the right forest?
Right.
Right. Because you don't want to spend, and that's another reason it's good to have people around you, or coaches or mentors or just people in your corner that want to see you do good things, because they'll be like, hey bro, you might be chopping down the wrong forest. I know you're putting in a lot of work, a lot of effort, and you're doing all the things, but are you getting the fruit you want? Yeah. And it's like, I'm not physically getting the fruit I want. Okay. All right. Well, let's adjust, man. Hey, is your business doing the profit margins you want? No, it's not. Okay. Well, I know you're going to put the time in. You're working hard. Let's figure out what's off in the math.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to spend your whole life working towards a destination you don't want to arrive at.
It's true.
I get to talk to a lot of people doing what I do. And what hurts my heart the most is when I speak to somebody who's kind of at the end and they've arrived somewhere they really don't want to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
and it fires me up to get re-engaged or to refocus. Because could you imagine, you're 70 years old and you've just grounded it out your whole life. You've worked hard. You've tried to be intentional, but you wake up and you're like, this really isn't when I was younger, this isn't where I set out to go.
Right.
Whether that's with addiction or you're just overweight or your marriage sucks or your businesses are falling apart or whatever that may look like. And you kind of wake up and you spent this whole life and you haven't got anything. You haven't made a difference. You haven't created a legacy for other people.
Right.
It'd be a sad place to be.
Exactly. That's one thing, prior to getting married, I told my wife, I said, I don't want Jacob, like 45-year-old Jacob, to wake up one morning and reflect on like where he could be.
Sure.
Like I want him to wake up confident
Yeah.
that this is where I'm meant to be.
Yeah.
And that was in regards to the marriage and the business,
Yeah.
and all the decisions I find myself making on a daily basis.
Sure.
But yeah, man, I can't imagine, which I'm 28 now. So it's one of those
You
things.
got some runway.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I'm grateful for that. But yeah, no, waking up one morning and not being, content, I'll say.
Yeah, sure.
With where I've arrived.
Yeah.
So
I'm 30. I'll be 38 Sunday.
okay.
And so got a few more years, but I spent a lot, I didn't have a lot of people in my corner. I was in like just the job sector,
Yeah.
and I was building a great career and all that kind of stuff. And so I was headed down that road. I kind of had to have a wake up moment in my life where I woke up and I was at a place where I was like, I got to pump the brakes. I had to stand up. I was the guy cutting down the trees in the wrong forest.
Right.
And I kind of had to have a wake up moment in a literal come to Jesus meeting where I'm like, what am I doing? And what am I doing it for? Like, what is the purpose behind all this? And is it going to continue? It's almost like being on a river and it just carries you away.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a slow fade too, that's why you've got to pay attention. That's why I tell people all the time, like every day I've got a concept, win the day.
Yeah.
And everybody, I coach or work with or encourage or just share with, I encourage people to have a few tasks, not a lot. It doesn't have to be crazy. It doesn't even need to run 10 miles and read 30 pages and listen to 4 hours of podcast. None of that. Things that add value to your life, right? Whether that's listen to a song you like, take a walk your dog, spend intentional time with your wife, spend intentional time with your kid. For me, I try to do something physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual every day that adds value to my life. And I have a little checklist, and I check them off. And when I do those things every day, I win the day.
Exactly.
And so I can't remember who it was. He talks about stacking wins.
Andy Frisella.
It's Andy.
Yeah.
Talks about stacking wins,
Yep.
right? But most people, when you sit them down, you're like, hey, how do you win the day? They're like, what? Survive? I'm like, no, that's tough. Like that's how you end up at 50, 55 and you wake up and you're like, I hate my life.
Right.
So I would encourage people, write down a handful of things that add value to your life in some capacity. Usually there's a physical component to that. Adds value to your life on a daily basis and focus on winning the day every day.
Yeah. And are those tasks too, because I find myself doing this, are they congruent with that long-term vision you've laid out?
True.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I've put down things on my, my action list or the power list, my 5 critical tasks that really don't contribute to that long-term vision. It's like, go set up table here at this time. It's like, okay, well, during that 3 hours, I could have been designing my next product label or, reaching out to another contract manufacturer to establish, more relationships.
Yeah.
Those things. So make sure it's congruent and it's in line.
And to speak to that too, that's why it's so critical to have that clarity around that long-term vision, because that's also how you end up busy.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
That's how you end up busy. You're doing things that are not in alignment with that long-term vision. And so and how many people do you talk to? How's it going? Busy.
Yeah.
It always stuns me.
I always ask the question, the follow-up question is, are you busy or productive busy?
That's what I always say. I'm like, I always go, busy doing what?
Yeah.
Like, cause, and usually they're not headed in a destination they want to head in.
Right.
Usually they're not somebody who you see in the gym all the time. Usually they're not somebody doing business things. Usually their marriage might be on the rocks. And I'm like, well, what are you busy doing?
Yeah.
Well,
a lot of it could be a distraction technique from those, bad parts of their life too.
Sure.
That's the same thing with shiny object syndrome.
We live in a world filled with entertainment and escape.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
That's why reflection is tough. And that's why, extreme ownership, most people don't have it.
Exactly.
Because we live in a world where we're sold entertainment, right? All over the place. And we're sold the idea of escape. Like you need a break, you need a day off. And that's warranted. I'm not saying you shouldn't take days off, but what I am saying is that you don't need to live with the intention of seeking entertainment and escape.
Right.
People, they live, and this is sad too. Like, I love my life. I am so thankful. I love what I do, a great wife, beautiful kid, all things. And it's taking a lot of work to get there, for sure. But a lot of people, they live for that vacation. They live for the weekend. You know, they're hammering out 5 days a week, so they get to Saturday and they're like, whew, man, made it again.
Yeah.
You know, and then they hammer themselves all weekend.
Well, it's, you know, it's work-life balance, right? And we've been sold that concept, but pick your balance.
Yeah.
You know, do you want to work towards the desired goal for the next 10 years and weekends are not a thing and then you've got freedom?
Yeah.
Or do you want to work, you know, Monday through Friday and then just totally dismiss your dreams on the weekend?
Yeah.
You know, pick your balance.
No, that's so good. It's almost like choose your hard.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Similar kind of concept. So a lot of people, you know, at the power panel events, one of the common questions is, how do each of you handle work-life balance? And my answer is there is no balance.
Yeah.
Because if we're seeking balance, nothing grows.
Right.
And so usually there really is no balance. If we're not paying attention and living intentionally, that's off balance because we're trying to live it more intentionally than not. And so when we're seeking balance, what tends to happen is all the BS and nonsense tends to get heavier on the scale. And so our purpose and our intentionality starts to become undermined.
Yep.
And so we live higher. The heavier item on the scale is the escape and the distraction and the entertainment and that weekend and that concept. So, yeah, I agree. I love the word harmony.
Yeah.
Right? Like there should be harmony. Like I've got to make time for my wife. I've got to make time for business. I've got to make time to go to the gym. I've got to make time to get in God's word. I've got to make time to be a dad. All the things.
Yep.
There's harmony. But there's also seasons, right? So, and that's what you were talking about. There may be a 10-year season in your life where you are getting after it and for a purpose, so that by year 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, it's not so hard.
Exactly.
Right? But a lot of people, unfortunately, instead of reflecting and having that clarity about what they want life to look like and then going about it on the day-to-day basis and the step-by-step thing, they're going to spend the next 40 years being You know, and that's the whole cutting down the wrong forest thing.
Yep.
And so that's unfortunate. What time are we at, Ken? 38 minutes.
Sweet.
So we'll go to about 45.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's talk about the myth of steroids.
Oh, yes.
Real quick,
Love
right?
it.
I wanted to talk about that today because a lot of people, there's so much misinformation about it. A lot of people think that just because you take them, you get more jacked-er. And even like people who have not been around it in a healthy manner, they think more is better.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and it's like, and I've been around some guys that are running absurd amounts.
Yeah.
You know,
like they're pin cushions.
Yeah.
Yeah. 3 to 4 grams a week. Yeah.
And it's like, you're running how much tests? Like how much a day?
Right.
You know?
Right.
And so it's always interesting. But let's talk about that. So first off, a lot of people, they always assume, right? If you're jacked or you're benching more than 400 pounds, they're like, that guy's on roids.
Yep.
First
So
off,
of course that's their self kind of their self-massaging technique to make them feel better about their mediocrity in a way. Like they just automatically assign that to that person.
It's out.
Yeah.
It's an easy out. They just take steroids. Yeah.
That's why they're there.
I can't ever do it.
Oh yeah, I'd do that too if I was on steroids.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course I'd look jacked.
Right.
If I was running a bunch of gear. You know,
Exactly.
loser.
Well, and so many guys too, they will embark on that side of things without actually having the training background enough time under the bar to actually know how to train properly to begin with.
Right.
So yeah, they're going to get results. I mean, listen, I'd lie if I said steroids don't work.
Oh, for sure, they absolutely do.
You know, they were developed. Most of them were developed for women undergoing like breast cancer, chemotherapy oriented things where they lose so much muscle mass because they're just not able to eat.
Right.
They've done studies on paraplegic people where they're given, high amounts of testosterone for 12 to 16 weeks, and these guys gain muscle without actually breaking it down.
Yeah.
So they do work.
Absolutely.
But if you are not going about it in a educated way, thank you, and training the right way, you're not going to get the results that you are seeking from them. You're going to get the side effects,
right?
The high blood pressure, the heart issues, the hematocrit, blood, all of your blood markers are tore up,
right?
So yeah, but it is a common thing to just assign that to people who are bigger
in better shape than you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it's unfortunate, and I'm the first to admit to everybody, even all my customers, I do videos on this all the time. Like, I've done steroids. I've done tren.
Yeah,
like,
I have too.
Yeah. And like, was it worth it? No. Because for one, especially tren.
Yeah.
I'm not competing in bodybuilding.
What is the point?
I'm a nutrition scientist. I'm not trying to look the best.
So that's kind of where I arrived at. I literally, and we were talking about this a little bit before, that's kind of why I got off of that. Because I've looked at other people doing it, and then I was asking myself, well, what for?
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing this for? Like,
right.
And I started to have a pretty serious shift kind of when I was having a come to Jesus meeting in my life. And I was like, I want to be more healthy rather than just jacked. And running all of this stuff, all this gear is not helping me out in life.
Exactly.
You know, and guess what? You can be in really good shape and you can actually move some pretty decent weight and be pretty jacked without running gear.
Exactly.
If you have the right workout regimen and you have the right food regimen. So first off, a lot of people, they throw that out there. Oh man, you must be on roids. Well, not really. Have you? Yeah. Is it beneficial? Did it help? Yeah. But was it worth it? Probably not.
No.
You know, and then the myth of a lot of the young guys, they think that if you just take them, right, if you go get some trend from some dude, which is a bad idea anyway, because there are bad people and bad steroids out there.
Yeah, and if you take your advice from your dealer, you're getting kind of screwed.
Yeah, because he's a sales guy.
He's trying to get you to buy it.
He's a sales guy.
And Tren, Tren was developed for cattle. Bro. It's still used in cattle to beef them up prior to being slaughtered.
Have you seen the Tren cow or the bull? It's like all jacked.
Oh yeah, those are the that's a certain breed of bull.
It is, yeah.
And those are badass.
The thing is huge.
I mean, they're just
nuts.
nuts.
A piece of meat.
They have a myostatin deficiency.
That's right.
Remember the myostatin inhibitors, all those supplements that get popular every few years? That's crap. Because if humans had a myostatin deficiency, which
we would look like that.
Well, no, actually, there's kids born every year with that condition.
Oh wow.
Unfortunately, they don't make it past 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh my.
It will kill you.
Oh my god.
Because it's so much pressure and density on your organs. And you think about it as a human, we're not made those smooth muscle tissues in your heart can't handle that kind of development.
Sure.
So if you buy a supplement, just kind of veering off a little bit. Yeah. If you buy a supplement that says that it inhibits myostatin, it's a bold-faced lie.
Right.
Right? You could get an acute suppression, but it's not going to benefit you.
Kind of like everything else we're talking about. Like there may be some little sliver of data that supports it, but really it's just BS. So to the kids and young guys and the gym bros out there, like, you see some jack guys in the gym, some of them pros and things, they're running gear. But they do a lot more than just take steroids.
Oh, exactly.
They have blood work. They have doctors. They have a very specific food regimen. They have a very specific exercise regimen. And so there's a lot more that goes into it than just shooting up some testosterone or shooting up some tren or going and doing that. And it's a bad idea to go get started with some of that stuff anyway. And I would encourage you to get more educated or go see your doctor, go get your blood work done, see where you're at, see where your test levels are.
And especially for young guys, this is one thing I like to drive home because I know where I was when I started gear. Like I was 21, bro, just gotten out of a breakup. Like
I'm getting jacked.
Yeah. It was just a simple solution at the time for me to kind of get over all that.
Sure.
When you're that young, you don't see past Friday night. Most people don't, like you can't see a long-term plan for yourself. At 21, I was adamant. I'm not ever having kids. I don't want kids,
Don't care.
Now, 8 years later, I do want a family.
Sure.
Me and my wife do want kids. And, try to think about your future. Are you going to be fertile? Like if you embark on this, like, are you going to hurt yourself long term? Think about your heart health.
Yeah.
Think about that future family and those kids that you have. Are you going to be able to make it to see them walk across their high school stage?
That's right.
Like those things as a 21-year-old, Jacob couldn't fathom. Matter. He just didn't think about it, So try to think long term. What is this taking me to?
100%. I recommend that the young guys think about that because you're 100% right. Like a lot of times they don't. I mean, I didn't either. I wanted the same thing. I'm looking at the bodybuilding magazines.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's go. Let's go get jacked. I need to bench press more. And then I was doing some powerlifting stuff, and I'm like, man, I need to squat more. I need to bench more. I need to run some more. I need to do the things. And at some point in your life, you'll have a wake up moment, kind of like what you're talking about. Like you got married, and you're like, I was wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? When I was 21, you're like, I was totally wrong.
Right.
So I love to have content like this on here because I want the young guys to hear these things and take it away from real people with real information and real experience so that you can avoid that.
Yeah. And ultimately, if there's any young guys watching this, I hope there are.
Sure.
You guys are going to do what you're set out to do either way.
Right.
So you're not going to listen to us tell you not to do it. I'm not going to say not to do it.
Right.
But if that is the decision that you make, try to consider all the ramifications. And if you do it, like, come ask me. Like, I'm happy to at least educate you and tell you what I know.
I was going to say, do it in an educated way. And your blood work will tell you a lot of things. You can get your blood work done. There's a lot of ways to do that. And you can go
offer it too.
Yeah, and I was going to say, you can go see Jacob and have him run through what those numbers and things look like. Because just like what you just said, when it's like, when you're telling a young guy, don't sleep with a girl.
Yeah.
Ain't gonna listen.
When my parents told me to, when I was a kid in high school, when they told me not to do something,
that meant you were going to go do it.
Don't smoke weed. Oh, I wanted to do it even worse. Then, it's like that little childish, like,
I'll show you.
Yeah, well, I think it's human nature too.
I think it is.
I think we all desire what we're not allowed to have.
Yeah.
That's like why the drug war has been kind of a failure. Like you ban all substances,
People are just going to want
people
it
are going
more.
to find a way to do it even more.
Yeah,
You know?
I say that all the time. Like when somebody's like, "You need to do this," I'm like, "Look, only my mom could tell me what I really need to do, and I probably didn't listen to them." And that just pisses me off.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
it does. It drives you. So get educated on that kind of stuff. There's a lot of information out there on it. Jacob's happy to share those kind of things. Go see him at the store.
Yeah,
hit him
thank
up. That'd be great. Get some real supplements.
Yeah, and get some advice. You know, like
and make a friend.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot, like you were saying, if you're taking advice on that from your dealer,
or the internet forums.
yeah, or the internet forums and all that kind of stuff, there's tons of bad information and poisonous information out there. Like it can really hurt
No
you.
doubt.
And same thing in your business. You know, if you have business questions and stuff like that, hit me up. Come see me if you have questions about generating revenue or how to generate leads or profit margins or systems and processes, any of that kind of stuff. You know, one of the cool things about what we both do is we love helping people.
Yeah,
right.
no doubt.
We're at a place in life where that's the main passion and the main purpose, because God's given us talents to where we can go make a difference.
Amen.
And I think that's so freaking cool.
Yeah.
You know? So, all right, we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
You want to talk about his new wife?
Yeah.
My new wife.
Yeah. We got a few.
She's brand new, guys.
Brand
I got her
in the mail.
fresh off the press. You know, straight from Inner
I
East,
was gonna
South
say, where'd
Carolina.
you order her? Yeah.
Yeah, Inner East, South Carolina, man. I got me a country
What
girl.
website? Yeah. Craigslist? No.
No, actually, you know what?
She's
though?
way prettier than that. You know?
Oh yeah. Well, I swung out of my league.
Yeah.
I did find her on Facebook.
Did you?
And it's a crazy story. I was scrolling through my Facebook feed, not doing my critical task one day.
Right, yeah.
And
Distractions.
I literally saw like people you may know, like they pop up,
Yeah.
like suggested
And you're
friends.
like, ooh.
And I'm like, that is the baddest blonde I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I was young and kind of an F-boy at the time.
Yeah.
Um,
Like she's pretty.
yeah, so I found her Instagram. Her Snapchat was in her Instagram bio at the time.
and you're like-
right? And I even put this in my vows. Actually, we both did. My initial like ask to her to go on a date or to, you know, hang out was me walking around the store, arrogant as hell, just sending a video on Snapchat like, hey, I don't know you. I know you don't know me. I think you're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life, and
Yeah.
I'd love to get to know you. Well, she was turned off by that big time. Like this, who is this arrogant guy
Right.
just making
Who's
a
this
video?
meathead in a supplement
Yeah,
store.
sending me this. Who is this guy? Well, if it wasn't for her best friend who informed her who I was,
Yeah.
you know, her friend shopped with me,
Yeah,
knew
yeah.
who I was, she wouldn't have given me a chance. So
that's
I'm
so
grateful
funny.
for that friend of hers.
Right. You owe that lady.
Yeah,
That lady gets a discount.
no doubt,
Yeah.
no doubt. But yeah, man, no, it's great, dude. You know, people ask me how married life is, and you know, how's married life treating you? To me, not much has changed,
Sure.
other than us creating a joint account. And you know, I am trying to be a lot better about opening up to her about the vision for the company, our income, all of that, family stuff, where we're going to be. Those are things that I kind of kept under lock and key prior to being married to her. But I'm like, well, you know, we're doing this for the rest of our lives now. I might as well just be a little bit more vulnerable and kind of tell you everything.
And I think that's a good thing. You know, a lot of people have some different views on marriage, and that's fine. You know, that's why they make different flavors of ice cream. Everybody has their own, you know, flavor. But being married is different. You know, me and my wife have been married 16 years this year.
Congratulations.
And so, thanks. Yeah. It's been a long road.
I mean, and I say that like very seriously. In America,
Yeah.
you're beating a
And I'm thankful
statistic
for that.
big time.
And it's kind of one of those things I'm proud of that
Mm-hmm.
because you're right. A lot of people, they don't make it that far. Now, there's been moments where we almost didn't make it that far.
Right.
Mostly my fault. And I'm super thankful for my awesome wife for that because, you know, when you because in the beginning we were committed to each other, kind of like what
Mm-hmm.
you're talking about. We're like, hey, you know, we're going to build a friendship for life.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're after here. And that's really one of the things that drew us to each other is we had kind of a common set of core values, you know, where we're like, this is what we want to do. There's no out.
Yeah.
And so that's what's kept us together for 16 years. Because I've been, you know, you'll go through seasons. You know, when you have a kid, different season. When you're first married, different season of life. When your kid comes in your life and you get this new stranger in the household, different season of life.
No doubt.
Business challenges come along, different season of life. And there's ups and downs and things. And so being committed to each other is a huge thing. But I tell you, my wife found me on MySpace.
Okay. Nice.
MySpace, right? And a lot of people
dude.
listening to this won't know what that is, but it was the precursor with our friend Tom prior to Facebook. Wasn't it Tom?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom on MySpace.
That's way back, man. My parents wouldn't let me have a MySpace.
that's
you know,
so
they were,
funny.
you know, scared of whatever the news
Scared
had
of the
told them
internet.
about it, you know.
Yeah, that's like
so I
TikTok
snuck
these days.
behind them and I'd made my own Facebook. They didn't know, you know, and which I guess Facebook was acceptable to them at the time. But
That's
yeah.
so funny. Like Facebook's safe. MySpace, that's a little weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, so that's so cool. And I just want to encourage people out there, get out there and go do the things you want to do. Send the girl a message. You never know. Things may work out. You may have a friend in your corner on the other side of the phone, like, oh, yeah, I know that guy. You ought to check him out. He's actually not that arrogant.
Right. Well, and if you're single and obviously I've tried to tell a lot of my friends this who are seeking a relationship.
Sure.
Don't seek it.
Yeah.
Right? Like the best things happen when you're not chasing.
Right.
If you're just chasing, spinning your wheels, looking for that person, you're not going to find them.
Well, and one of the greatest ways to find a best friend and a companion for your life is to become the best version of you.
Yes, it is.
So if you are working on you, that's naturally going to attract other people to you. Both friends, your circle, spouse, and all that kind of good stuff. And the more you prepare for that, like, wouldn't you rather come along to somebody, whether male or female, that's working on themselves?
Yeah,
and working on becoming the best version of themselves.
And open up yourself too. Like that's one thing. I think with social media in today's time, we're so picky on what we want and don't want in a partner. So we'll see things immediately on their social media or whatever. And it's like, oh, yeah, nope, that crosses the line. Open yourself up to a little bit of opposition. And maybe that's just my perspective because JC is total opposite of me.
And actually, I think that's a good thing.
Total. Like, she does not care about the gym. She goes because she wants to get in better shape, but it's not a passion of hers. She's not one of those people we talk about all the time. She doesn't have this grand vision for a business that she wants to build. She wants to support me. Yeah. But we're polar opposites in everything we like. But it somehow works.
So I'll tell you something so funny. Me and my wife were eating something Sunday. We're doing it totally different. We are the same way. Like, I want to get out there. I want to do things. I want to fly airplanes and build businesses and change the world, right? Yeah. Like, I'm just on fire. And I think I have caffeine that flows through my blood. And same thing. I love going to the gym. My wife, she goes because she wants to be with me. She likes to work out. She wants to be in good physical health, but she didn't really care about being jacked or anything like that. And the way that I looked at her Sunday, we were eating, I was like, we literally do everything the opposite. Yeah. But it's been really good in our marriage because we offset each other, So a lot of times when I'm down, she pulls me up. And when she's down, I pull her up. Or I have skill sets that she doesn't have. And so we're able to operate, our household kind of like a business. I had a mentor one time talking about business partnerships, and he always said, I never have business partners like myself. Yeah. It would never work out. Right. He said, I'm looking for people not like me. Yeah. Because
and that's kind of the visionary and integrator kind of role there.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I need to find me a partner like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. Because I am the visionary guy, and I struggle with integrating. And like actually putting the paper, in action.
Right. And then carrying it out for long term.
Making it sustain.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I would encourage you in your marriage. You guys have been married what, 6 months?
Oh, only 2-3 months.
2-3 months.
I mean, we were living together for prior, which regardless of people's views, it happens. I'm grateful we did. Yeah. So we already knew what that was like. Yeah. But yeah, 2 months.
Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say it hasn't been long.
June 1st. Yeah.
So he's brand hammer new. So you've got and the real thing is a lot of people they overcomplicate it when they talk about, oh man, like, oh, marriage has changed your life. Well, in a good way, like you get a partner to go home to, you get somebody to share a lot of things with, and I think that's one thing I would encourage people with, especially men. Like, it's okay to share things with your spouse. Like, I was bad at that for a long time. Yep. Long time. Where I wanted to kind of protect things. I wanted to pretend like everything was okay. I wanted to pretend like I was okay. I didn't want to expose myself. I didn't want to open myself up and say, hey, you know what, babe? You know what? I'm just having trouble. I'm having a hard day or a hard month or whatever it may be.
And that'll get you in trouble too if you don't open up.
For sure.
Me, I was peacocking when I first met her. 25-year-old dude, big muscles, drove a Tesla, owns 2 stores. Yeah. I propped myself up to look like a baller. Right. And little did she know I had dumped, right before meeting her, dumped every single bit of capital I had in an open in Greenville. So I had nothing other than the nice looking things on the outside.
Yeah, it looks good on Facebook.
Yeah. It took about a year for me to break down and like actually tell her like, hey, like things are not as good as I've made them look. Yeah. And to my surprise, I think my fear was that she wouldn't like me if I wasn't that baller. To my surprise, she was pissed that I didn't tell her sooner. Right. But she wasn't like, she wasn't going anywhere. Right. She still wants to support me. And
she wasn't mad because you didn't have it.
Yeah.
She was mad just because you didn't tell her.
Yeah. I wasn't upfront about it. I'd just be like, oh, yeah, everything's fine. Yeah. I'll buy that $200 dinner, whatever. Right. And meanwhile, that's like making me have a panic attack on the inside,
Is he going through? Is he going through? Yeah.
Exactly.
I'll tell you, just a funny thing about that. I was listening to something Alex Hormozy said the other day, and he was talking about imposter syndrome. Yeah. And how a lot of times in our lives we have anxiety and we have chaos and we have this imposter syndrome. He said, well, just stop lying. Yeah. Like, imposter syndrome usually happens when we pretend to be something that just isn't the case. And here's what I've realized too. Like, when I went through sobriety and I had to raise my hand and be like, listen, I got I got all kinds of problems, and I've never dealt with them. And because the plane was crashing, I was like, I'm going to have to deal with all this stuff.
Yeah.
And that was hard to unpack. But I wasn't living authentically the way that I was on the, tearing myself up on the inside. And so that was tough. But a lot of people, they do that. They want to pretend like all this stuff, is okay and everything's perfect. And I always tell people, like, I get in a lot of nitty gritty details of people in the coaching space, and what they portray on the internet versus how things are in life is just not the case.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, just stop pretending to be perfect.
Exactly.
Like, just stop and raise your hand. I got problems. Guess what? I got problems. You got problems. He got problems. We all got problems. Other people in this building got problems. Everybody you come across either has problems, has had problems, or is going to have problems.
Yeah.
So just get honest about that.
You're not wrong.
And that's a great way to overcome that imposter syndrome. And Garrett White, he says the truth is transformational.
Yeah.
And that is so friggin' true. When we stop pretending and we stop all the BS and we start to set those things down and we start to get honest with ourselves, we start to go, yeah, I gotta do some changing. Yeah. Things got to be different.
Exactly.
Same thing when you had that conversation with her, you're like, I got to tell her because I can't buy Hall's Chop House every night.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, and that's, I had told her that, but that was when I asked her dad for his blessing.
Yeah.
He had thought the same thing. He's like, I see the car and the businesses and, all this. And I'm like, hey, man, like, I've been probably putting on a front that I didn't mean to intentionally, but here's where we're at. I'm going to take care of your daughter no matter what. But we're not as, financially just balling like I made it look. But yeah, it did. And it helped things a lot.
Yeah.
So,
getting honest.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the truth is transformational, man. And that also allowed you and her to connect in a different way as well. And she probably greatly appreciates that, but it built a different level of trust.
Yep.
Right. And now she's like, okay, he trusts me he let me in. It's like being part of a mob gang or something. Like she's on the end. She's inside.
You're good.
You're good.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Didn't have to murder anybody.
Exactly.
Right.
And I still work on that daily. I mean, there's more and more things that I need to open up about, be more transparent about. And there are things, when I'm sitting down with her at night and just relaxing or, spending time with her, they don't come to my head. So unless there's a situation where it needs to be brought out, I've, got to be more aware of that, more cognizant.
Because we'll set them down. As men, we kind of compartmentalize things. We don't carry it on throughout the day to where we get to the evening and we're like, oh man, that really hurt my feelings. Or they're like, it's kind of come and gone. It may come up again in 6 weeks or something. But for right now, I'm like chilling watching a movie.
Yeah. Right. It was the same. Like last night, came in, sat down. She was like, how was your day? And honestly, yesterday was good.
Yeah, it was a good day.
But it felt like a long day. And I felt like I did not get what I needed to get done.
Yeah.
And I just said it was long. It was a rough day. Yeah. And then she was like, well, why? And I'm like, like, I don't want to dig all
You're
that
like,
shit
I don't
back
know.
up.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to backtrack. Like, let's just sit here. And
I don't know why.
Yeah. I just felt that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always funny. Sometimes I encourage my wife to ask me less questions sometimes until I get things sorted out inside of my head. Because she will, and I love her to death, but sometimes she'll ask me like 5 questions at once. And I'm like, which one do you want the answer to?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, it's tough. And so we have to but I've got to be honest with her. You see, because if I bottle that up, my frustration, and instead I have to be like, hey, babe, and you can do it in a nice way. I don't have to be a dick. I don't have to be like, don't ask me questions. Like, I can just be like, hey, babe, I just got home. I've been peopling all day. People been asking me questions all day, been trying to solve problems all day, trying to get things done. I just kind of want to sit down and just unwind for a little bit.
Yep.
Can you postpone the questions for a little while?
Right.
And she's like, oh, okay. And then but prior to that, I would just get mad, because I would be like, well, it's rude for me to ask her not to ask me questions because that just seems dumb. And then so she would kind of pester me. That's how I felt. And so that created strain in our relationship until it explodes.
Right. And that's where I let my ego get into. It's like, who are, like in my head at one point, it was like, well, who are you to question this?
Right.
Within my operating.
What do you mean, why?
Yeah. Like,
Right.
why are you? But she cares.
Sure.
She just wants to be let in.
That's what it is. She wants to feel safe.
Yep.
And she wants to feel included. Like those are 2 things that, women in a man's life typically want.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we suck at creating that environment where they feel safe enough to be themselves with us, and make them feel included. Because we have that. We're like, what do you know?
Right, exactly. It's because like you're not with me all day to see all of this stuff.
What's it gonna matter?
Like, how are you to, why are you questioning me?
Right,
kind of thing.
That's how we feel, and I felt that way before too, where I feel questioned, and it's like a jab at your ego.
Yeah,
and you're like, I'm trying to solve the world's problems and win the day and keep myself together and pay the bills and run businesses and solve other people's problems. Like, why are you questioning me?
Yeah,
And
most of the time when she does question me or says something that hits my ego, it's usually because it's right.
Yeah.
And I don't want to come to terms with
Right.
it. You know, it's like, oh, why are you letting that person work this many hours or whatever, and you're paying them that much? Like,
Right.
what?
Yeah. And you're like,
And I'm like,
you're right.
yeah,
You're like, oh, should
Yeah.
I be mad or are you right? Maybe
Exactly.
both. I'm mad and you're right. Yeah, no, that's
man.
good stuff. All right, we'll do a wrap.
Yeah.
So I always ask people at the end of the show if you could give somebody one piece of advice, like one top tip, whatever it may be, whether it's life, business, supplements, gym, anything. What would that one thing be that you would say, you know what, if you do this will make a difference in your life?
Define a goal
Yeah.
in anything. You know, like I revisit that construct a lot, whether it's a bodybuilding show, whether it's a powerlifting event, whether it's a business, whether it's a relationship. Define your outcome or pick a goal and pursue that goal. Don't just drift along the wind and wait for something to pick you up and you follow down another stream of whatever it may be. Pick a goal and work towards it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's my simple advice to a lot of people. I see a lot of people in my realm of fitness and nutrition. They say they want to do things, but their daily actions do not work towards that thing, you know? So pick a goal.
Yeah.
So
That's good.
for now.
That's good.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
I
This is
appreciate
awesome.
having you on, Jacob. Hit him up, the nutrition store, Spartanburg and Greenville.
And online.
I was going to say TikTok, Facebook.
Instagram, TikTok are where we're most popular.
Okay.
Facebook, you can find me. You can message me. Working on building that too, but we're also redeveloping our website right now. So
what is your Instagram?
At the Nutrition Store LLC.
And the TikTok?
At the Nutrition Store.
And I want to give him a shout out because the content it's great. Like
Thanks,
he makes
man.
great content.
Thank
His
you.
videos, even the one you posted the other day in downtown Greenville, asking the older,
yeah.
just stuff like that. This guy's an out of the box thinker. He's great. He's a creative.
I appreciate
person.
it, man.
So
I
that's fun to
appreciate
watch.
that.
All else fails, you'll be well entertained.
Yeah, that's the goal.
So thanks for having you. Thanks for being on today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, bro.
It's a blast.
So give a follow-up shout out to our sponsor, the Acquisition CEO. If you are curious about buying or selling a business, hit him up in the link below or hit me up. Happy to connect you. He loves helping people with business acquisitions. And as I always say, let's go do some winning.
Let's do it.
See ya.